talking already, so please bear with me. And it's actually quite ironic. I've just realised the notepad or the folder that I've just brought my notes up in, this has actually gone round to every medical appointment I've ever had. It's quite ironic that I brought my notes in it today without realising it. So, hello. My name is Claire, and I am very lucky to be a member of the Leeds, Bradford and Skipton Endometriosis Support Group, which is run by Michelle, as you know. I first met Michelle and joined the group a year last November, and I can honestly say, at that time, it was an absolute lifeline. Back then, the group used to meet in a Toby Carvery Inn, and there is nothing more surreal than being sat in a pub, surrounded by women you've never met before, talking openly about gynecological issues that would usually make Joe Public squirm. In fact, some of the girls even indulged in a portion of garlic bread, you know who you are, Emma, and ice cream whilst we were at it. Me personally, well, I turned up once, sporting my faithful hot water bottle, knowing that if there was ever a time and a place where it wouldn't raise an eyebrow, it was here. A wonderfully diverse group full of warm, funny and beautiful women who all shared a mutual respect, because at the end of the day, we have all experienced firsthand the sheer hell that endometriosis can be. I personally first suspected that I had endometriosis in 2013, although looking back, I've actually been symptomatic for over 13 years. But like with many ladies with endometriosis or adenomyosis, I also assumed that periods were meant to be painful, or that I was just one of the unlucky ones. When I came off the pill in 2011, that's when it started to become a bit more serious for me. Just like many women, I approached my GP, who fobbed me off with shrugged shoulders, and that negative consultation delayed me taking my symptoms seriously for a further 2 years. In 2013, I returned to the GP, a female one this time. I was diagnosed with fibroids, and unfortunately, once again, I was very nearly fobbed off. However, by this time, I had started looking into endo myself, and so I pushed for a referral to gynae for their opinion. Unfortunately, I left that gynae appointment a few months later in tears. It was a horrible, humiliating experience. I was just another number. The symptom list that I printed off from the Endometriosis UK website wasn't even acknowledged, and there wasn't a discussion of what my options were. Rather, I was told what they would do. I felt like I didn't actually exist. The chaperone nurse was lovely, but as a nurse myself, I knew that this was not how such a consultation should be. And for the first time in my life, I felt humiliated at the hands of the NHS and truly appreciated how it felt to be a patient with endometriosis. I cracked on with working full-time and studying for the Open University course on an evening, assuming that I was edging up the waiting list. I joined about a dozen social media forums, and I read as much as I could about endo. What I read was horrific. Ladies having lap after lap after lap, being pain-free for only a matter of months before being back in pain and needing repeat surgeries every few years. I was mortified. How the heck could I do this all over again in a couple of years' time? But alongside the horror stories was positive information too. Information that suggested that cutting it rather than burning endo was the way forward. That rather than masking the symptoms with hormone treatments that often come with unbearable and long-lasting side effects, there was also the more common sense notion of actually effectively removing the disease by excision surgery. I had anticipated my lap being in the November that year, but when the November came and went, I made inquiries. It turned out I wasn't even on the waiting list. I was devastated. This is when I reached my lowest point. I was beyond desperate. My symptoms had now gone from bad to off the chart. My bowel was obstructing every month when I had my period, and the contraction-type pains had me on all fours. For a total of 6 months, I restricted my diet to reduce inflammation and reduce dietary sources of estrogen. I had no life. I went to work, came home, and went to bed. My husband took on the caring role, and without his unconditional love and support, I simply could not have coped with that time of my life. When I was in pain, it became survival, and when I wasn't in pain, I was preparing for when I would be in pain. Now all this sounds pretty dire, and at the time, it certainly was. However, it turns out that not being on that wait list was the best thing that could ever have happened to me. I was signposted to an amazing website called Endopedia and a Facebook group called Endometriosis. Here, the world's top specialists in endo offer their time for free to support women like myself. The group exists purely to educate and myth bust, and it is by far the best resource that I ever came across. I carried on reading, and I gradually pieced together bits of information that would prove crucial to me getting where I am today. I took back control. I booked an appointment to see Mr. Trahan, or as Mr. T, as he is fondly referred to in forums. Wow, what a difference. This time I was listened to, completely. I was not just a number. He meticulously went through my history and my symptoms, ensuring that no stone was unturned. When I had my physical examination, my back raised off the couch in excruciating pain. But I was crying with relief because it meant that he was finding what was wrong. He sat me down and he took the time to talk to both me and my husband about the type of endo he thought I had, which was rectovaginal endometriosis. He appreciated that I may not be able to commit to the price of the surgery, but this did not stop him stressing to me the importance of only allowing a specialist to do my surgery. The information that I got from Endometriosis backed this up also. I learned that rectovaginal endometriosis presents the most surgically challenging form of endometriosis, and so I knew that in order to find a surgeon who was so highly skilled not to just identify the areas of endo, but also to excise it effectively and on the NHS, was going to be a tall order. I printed off the list of accredited endo centres from the BSG website. I remember spending my entire day off searching each consultant until I found a surgeon who ticked all the boxes for me. I read every link possible. I Googled everything. Every hospital leaflet, every forum comment, and every snippet of information. In any other context, this would definitely be perceived as stalking. My efforts were rewarded when I came across Mr. Eddie Asagi in Manchester. When I met him, both me and my husband were bowled over at his calm, professional demeanour. He was attentive and genuinely cared, and listened to everything I was saying. I felt safe. I felt understood. And I was so very, very relieved to have found a true endo specialist and a gem of a surgeon. I had my surgery 4th of April last year, and I have never looked forward to something so much in my life. I joked that endo had been given its eviction notice. My surgery was 4.5 hours long, and my disease was more extensive than I or my surgeon had anticipated. My surgery went without any complications, and all my endo has been excised thoroughly, and my quality of life is now utterly amazing compared to the sheer hell and desperation that I was in back when I first met Michelle. I do not know what the future holds for me and endo. I am realistic in the knowledge that even though endo does not spread, but unfortunately it can rarely reoccur despite complete excision. I had my endometrioma, chocolate cyst, not just drained, but also excised in order to prevent it simply refilling. But endometriomas are known to reoccur, and so I am aware that this might not be the end of the fight just yet. But on a positive note, what I do know is that by becoming educated and empowered and ensuring that I have my surgery with a true specialist, I have given myself the best chance I can of a pain-free future. And I would encourage any woman in the same position to read and research as much as possible and to advocate for yourself and to push for a referral to a surgeon that you feel best suits your own personal needs. So, I'd like to say a big thank you. Thank you to Michelle and to the support group here in the Leeds, Bradford and Skipton area. Thank you to Libby Hopton and David Redwine for their Facebook Endometriosis. Without both of these groups, I would never have had the information in order to have made genuinely informed decisions about my body and my health. And I regularly signpost women to both these groups as they were instrumental in me ultimately taking control and empowering myself to deal with the hell that is endometriosis. Every woman's story is different. This was just mine. I hope that some of it has been useful to you or someone you know. My final thoughts are that it is so important that we are allowed to openly discuss good and bad experiences with our surgeons and signpost to credible sources of information. There is so much misinformation surrounding endo. Old-fashioned notions of it spreading like dandelion seeds offer no hope whatsoever, whereas the actual facts about endo and how to treat it effectively through excision offer genuine evidence-based hope that every woman can potentially look forward to regaining her quality of life. And now I think I'll pass you back to Michelle, because I need a drink, I'm sure.